Hi everybody, welcome to the LNROOM. I'm Tony Alden, and today in this episode 11 we're going to look at pyln-client implementation. Specifically, we'll focus on the method run of the class plugin. Let's jump into our terminal where we can see already the setup on my machine, and I've already installed pyln-client version 23.2 in a Python virtual environment .vam, and now we're going to start to node on rec test using this script startup rec test provided by the Lightning repository. And now we can use the command start ln to start to node as we just said. So here we are going to have those two nodes, and as we did in many other videos, we can see that this alias is for Lightning CLI with the directory of this node set to temporary L1 dash rec test. So now let's go to our simple plugin written with pyln-client, as the goal of this session is not to learn how to write a plugin with pyln-client. We already start with this one, and if you don't know how to write a plugin for Core Lightning with pyln-client, you can refer on lnroom.live to the episode 10 where we do everything. So it's a 10-minute episode, so it's really quick if you want to get started with that. With that said, let's jump back here. I will describe a little bit what is happening. So here we import the class plugin. There we instantiate in a variable the plugin. In that part, we declare the JSON RPC method node ID, which return that object with one field node ID, and the node ID that we get here from our node that is running the plugin. And finally, here plugin.run, so the function, the method that we are interested in today is running the plugin. So first step, we answer to the get manifest. Second step, we answer to the init request of Lightning D, and then we wait on our standard in stream. We wait for a request from Lightning D, and we answer for instance for node ID with that function set. So let's go back there, start the plugin. So to start the plugin is L1 CLI plugin, the command plugin. We start the plugin, we have to pass it an absolute path, which is my plugin.py. So we start the plugin is started, and now we could do something like that. Node ID, so remember here, this is the method that we've defined. We should return the node ID. So here is the node ID. So this is a simple plugin that just return the node ID. Let's see a little bit what's happening here. So there are two where we can start. We could look at plugin when it is instantiated and see what's happened at that moment, or we can start there. I prefer to start at that point. And now let's go back to the node and see this call stack. So when we enter, after we are going to go through the implementation of a pyln directory in the code, but it's great to have it's interesting. It helps to have this call stack, this part of the call stack when we start plugin.run in mind, and we are going to refer to that multiple times in this video. So when we start the plugin.run, some of the things are happening. At some point, here I just keep the function and the method that we are interested in and we are going to look at in that videos, but many things happen, so it's a simplified view of what's happening. And last thing to note is the method with boxes are the methods that we are going to add some stuff in directly in the code to see what they are doing in reality. So here in plugin.run we are waiting for the incoming request from LightningD, and then when we get a request, we are going to dispatch that request with multi-dispatch. Then in multi-dispatch, two things can happen. Is either the request from LightningD is a notification, so we're going to use another method to answer to the notification, or to treat the notification at least. But as we are interested in JSON RPC method, we are going to the plugin. No, not the plugin, but multi-dispatch will branch to plugin this one, plugin dispatch request. So this is the one that will treat our request. So typically the request that we have, if we go back there, so the request L1-CLI node ID, it's transformed in appropriate requests that go to LightningD, and LightningD send it to our plugin, and our plugin are going to do something with that. And now at that point, one function is executed, and in our case, in our plugin, so we can go back to my plugin here, the function that is used to treat that request with the method node ID is that function. We are going to see that in a moment. So go back here, and when it's treated, we have to send it back. So the result of exec func will be an object that will go into the result field of the response to the request from LightningD that we're going to send it back. So what's happened is that we call request write result, which do a write that is locked, and in other words, what we are doing is we are writing to our plugin standard output, which is sent to the standard in of LightningD. This is how we get everything done. So this is an overview of Plugin.run, and now let's play a little bit with our implementation and see if we can do cool stuff. So let's go back to my plugin. Okay, so what we can do is, yes, here we are going to see directly the Plugin.run method. So we look for that one. So in the Python virtual environment verb, we look for pyln, and pyln we want client, and this is the library. So we are in the library in the virtual environment. So we have those files, and the function that we're interested in is inside plugin.py. So here it is the file. So we see it's a 1000 line, and this is the file that implement the plugin class which we have here. We also have the request that we are going to see a little bit, We are also the class method that we're to see a little bit, but continue here in plugin. So if we have the init as usual, and now we are going to go directly to the run part. So let's focus on that part, on arrow here, and what's going on. So this part is just if we don't start the if we use plugin.run not by when the plugin has been started by Lightning D, as we did before with the plugin command, we are going to have this message. And now the important part, the IO loops that we have. So we have partial, so which is a byte string, which is going to be grown with the incoming line that we have in the standard in of the plugin. And we can see here that what we do is really we loop on the standard in buffer. So when we loop there at that line, we have the messages. So if we can split with two new line and there more and we encounter two new line, we are going to pass this to multi-dispatch. We are going to pass the messages. Okay, so let's look at the messages. So what are we going to pass to multi-dispatch? We do that in just 20 seconds, but before, it seems that I'm going to do that a lot in this video, to say we are going to do that, but before let's just see something else. So self.stdin.buffer, we need to see a little bit where does it come from and what it is exactly. So here in the init first method that we have, if we don't pass, we pass nothing in the standard out to say what is going to be the standard out, we can see here that this is going to use the standard out of the process normal. So and the same happen here for standard in. So we have that. So when we call self standard out, self standard it, in our case right now is a sys.standard out and still sys.standard in. Let's go back here. So maybe we can just justify that is because there we instantiate the plugin with no argument. So what we just to say is happening. Now we are back here. We narrow again, and what we are going to do is here to print out some of the messages. So we can't print out the messages directly to standard out, because as the way we start the plugin by Lightning D and the way it works is that our standard out and in are used to communicate with LND, so with Lightning D. So if we need to print something out, we still can use a file. So this is what we do right now. What we want is to see what are the messages and to look at them. So here we are going to append to the file a temporary my plugin out, something that is here there. So we can start maybe to have something like that. Okay, to separate the thing, and it will be helpful after too. So we have that. We can do something like that. And we are going to write that we are in plugin.run. after, as we are going to add more, we are going to print out more stuff. It's interesting to see where those things did happen. So this will happen in Plugin.run. A new line, and what else? And we want, okay, so we want the messages, and this is going to be a list if I'm not wrong. So we get the representation of that list. So we can save now. So we saved, and maybe a new line at the end. And here, this is what we've just done. We are waiting for in the standard in our standard incoming communication from Lightning D. And those messages, we are going to print them, to write them in my plugin out _out file to see what we are going to do. And after we see that those messages are treated by multi-dispatch, that we can go back here to see a little bit where we are. So right now we are at this part of the game. We still not enter in multi-dispatch. We'll do it just after. So now go back to our terminal. We are going to stop our plugin. We stop the plugin. We start it again, and now we can see so in that file what we have. Okay, cool. So here is some information. So we add two communication with Lightning D. So in Plugin.run, first we received the get manifest. So we can see method get manifest. Here we have it. So method get manifest. We answered to that request. Let's go back to plugin.p. So this is what multi-dispatch did. So it answers some things that we're going to see after. Let's go back here. So, and then we add in plugin.run another request from Lightning D, which is exactly the init request. So to remember what is going on with the plugin is that we have three things happening. First, we have to answer to the get manifest where we this is the moment of our answer is to register JSON RPC method, notification hook, and also startup option. Then we have the method, the request init from Lightning D, which tells us, okay, I'm okay. We can talk together right now. And here at the configuration that you can use to do those stuff. So let's go back in the terminal. And normally, as it is correctly defined, we still can call that this method that we define in the plugin, and this will change the output of the file plugin out, my plugin _out. So we can go to this one and see that the plugin was waiting in its input in standard in to incoming communication from Lightning D, and it received method the node ID, and it did something that is answering with the node ID. So here is for the first part of what's happening. We have the request, we have seen the request, we send the messages, we pass the messages to multi-dispatch. And our plugin is this plugin. It's simple, not so much, not so many things defined here. Let's go back to plugin.py, and maybe now we can follow the call and see what is next. So we go there, and now we can go here to multi-dispatch. Let's have a look. So the multi-dispatch take the messages, so that we just seen what are the messages. Here we in the for loop, what we do is we take the payload, which is the first. We loop on the messages, but the last, where the last is the empty string, we parse, so we decode and we transform the request, the incoming request, which is a byte string, into a request. Here we are going to just we don't look at parse request that thing, but we are going to look at the class request. So we transform the byte stream request from LightningD into a class request, and then here, as we have an ID, because we have an ID, we've seen this, and we still can look at it here. In every of those calls, we have an ID here, so we can see that ID, which means that we want to. This is a JSON RPC method, not a notification, and this is where the distinction, the branch appear. And we go to dispatch request, and we pass it the request that we've just produced. So maybe don't know if I'm talking too much, but these are the things that we need to look at, and we are going to add other things that we want to print out in our file to see what's going on. So the request here will have a method, which is going to be the method name. So if it's get manifest, method will be get manifest. If it's init, it will be init. On our case, if it's not ID, which will go not ID. The parameters are the CLI parameters that we pass. For instance, for node ID, we don't pass the parameter. Here we have the request ID, which is important for answer here back. And from the request, we have the set results that we are going to use at the end. And we can see here, this at the end we use that function, that method to do the end of this. So where am I? Okay, so multi-dispatch. So we were in multi-dispatch and we dispatch request. Okay, so just that you can see where we have a request ID. So now we passed the request to the method underscore dispatch request. What is happening in that function, in that method, which is here? So we, how to say that? So what we do, we narrow there, and something is happening, and here we are going to do some interesting stuff and see some interesting stuff. What we can directly say is that this part, the end of that method, is for exception if we get an error. So we are not looking at that. It's important in a good library to have on good programs to have a good error message and error handling, but that means that we just have to focus on that part of the function to understand a little bit what's going on. So this is the first time where now we do underscore dispatch underscore request. We're passing the request. On the request, we get the method. And now, this is the first time that we have that. We look for the name in self.methods. Okay, so that means that when we have an incoming request from Lightning.D, we have the name of that request, which can be init or something else, and we look in the dictionary self.methods if we have something that can do that can handle that request. So, and if we have something here, we create an object. Yes, this is self method name. No, we don't create. We just take the method associated with that name, and that method as here we can see here. So if we have method here and method here, we can see that we have a function associated with that method, for instance, for init, that is executed here by execfunc that return a result, and that result is used here. Okay, so we can see it and set on the right to our output, and we go back here. We've just say everything here. So we have the dispatch request, where here, if we find in the list of the methods that we have a function that can handle that request, we apply that function, we get the result, and the result we pass it for request set result that will do the end and write to the plugin standard output. So now there is two, three things that I want to do is to look at self method. Okay, so we are here, self dispatch, and now we want to see a little bit how does it look like the self method. We could look at it in that file, but I prefer to go back to the implementation of our plugin and do something else, which is to just send to Python interpreter some of some expression here to see how they are, what's going on, and that's it. So what we do now, I just I just say it's have a Python interpreter associated with that buffer, with that file, and I will send it some expression, and we will see the output. So if there is nothing happening, it's just that it doesn't return any output, but we can see here at the really bottom that we send something. So first, we have imported the class plugin. Now we instantiate the plugin, and this is the part that is interesting. Now we can do something like that. So plugin, and we can look at these dictionaries. So let's see what it is. And it is just after we've instantiated the plugin. So, okay. So something interesting appears here is that, for instance, we have a dictionary, and this dictionary has two names here, which is init and get manifest. Okay, so init and get manifest are defined automatically by a pyln-client, and this will allow, when we have the incoming request, and when so let's go back here, and we go back here in the plugin, this will say, okay, so in the dispatch request the name exists, so I can continue, and what I want to do is this part is to return a result and to send it back to Lightning.D. So now what we want to look at is the method associated here. Okay, so we go back there, and what we can do it for instance, let's do it for init. So we can have the init, which is going to be, so we can send it. So if we send it, this is a method object, and we know that in the method object that we have a function. So maybe method, which is the method. So it's not what I should have done. Name. Okay, so it was I should have used name. So we have the name, which is init, and the function, and the function is that one. So here we have the function that is going to be used by our plugin to answer to the init request, which is plugin and that thing. So we are not going to look at it, but we can just spot it. So we go there. Just a moment. And here, and we can see maybe def and init. So we have it. It is the last defined here. So this one is the one that does the work for answering to the init request. So I hope you're still with me, and let's continue. Because we are doing the thing correctly. So now we go back to our files and our interpreter, and we are going to do not the same thing, but we want to see something. So I put here plugin.methods. We don't do nothing with it right now. And we remember that we just have init and get manifest defined here inside. We've sent the plugin method. So normally something did happen at that moment, because we just defined the method node ID. Let's see if it has been added to that dictionary. So yes, so we have it here. And this is exactly what we wanted to see. So the thing happened like that. And in the next episode, we are going to look more precisely at this part of the implementation, but not today. So if you are interested, it will be in the next episode. So now we can get node ID, and we want the function, and the function should be that one, because we want node ID to return the method node ID to return what this function return, which is the node ID field with the node ID. So let's now send this here in the interpreter, and this is what we have. Okay, so we have two things left to do. Let's go back to our note and see where we are so far. So the plugin.run, multi-dispatch, and we are still inside the dispatch request. So the dispatch request, we look at the name. If the name is in the methods, in plugin.methods dictionary, and have a function associated, this will be executed by that function, exec function. So now let's go back in my plugin. Let's go back here, because we no longer we keep them, but we don't want them to be there, because we are going to restart the plugin in a moment. Because so here we are. multi-dispatch. This is not the multi-dispatch that we want, and we want, okay, this one. Okay, let's go. We are back in the dispatch request, and as we can see in here, there is a box. So that means that we are going to add some stuff to write to our file, which is my plugin_out. And we want the thing that it could be interesting to see its name. So we're going to print to write name. Maybe we want the result. Maybe there's something else that we might want. Okay, yes, we want. Okay, so we want three things. So we want name, which is here. We want the method func, where we just print the representation of that function. And we also want the result to see what's happening. So we do everything here. And as we did before, we're going to print out this there. So how do we write that? So before we did something like that. So in, so this is still a method from the plugin class. So we can write this like that. We need a new line. Yes, a new line, and we want, okay, so here we want to format, and we just take the name, and the name should be a string, so we have no problem. So not, we want a plus, and we continue. And we said that we want the method.func printed, writed to that file. So this is exactly, we take the representation to be sure that there's no problem, because this is not a string, this is a specific object. We have it here, a new line, and something else, which is the result. So here, the result, it's not straightforward what the type is of result, but I know that the exec function return JSON, so we can directly use this. So this is a JSON, so what we can do is JSON dumps, and we want to dumps the result and a new line, and this should work correctly. So we want the name, we want the method function, and we want the result here. That is the result of exec functions that we apply this function with the information in the request object. So we go back to our terminal now, and we are going to stop and restart. Okay, so, stop, now the stop, and we hope that restarting is going to work correctly. And we can see at the bottom that as I left as we left the file open, it has been changed automatically. So let's go there and see what happens. So the beginning is here. So this was for the first part that we did before. So we don't want that part. The new part is here. So here in Plugin.run, we receive that request, which is the get manifest request. We pass from multi-dispatch, and now we are just in dispatch request. The name is get manifest, what we expected. The method, the function that is going to be used is function defined by plugin, which is _get manifest, and the result of the call of that function is this one. So after, what's going to happen is that this result will be not sent directly to sent back directly to Lightning D, but put into the field result of the corresponding answer to the JSON RPC communications that we have with Lightning D. But this is the result that we have, and we can go further here and we have we run, we have this request from Lightning-D, which is the init request that gives us the confirmation. In plugin dispatch, dispatch request, we are treating the init. Here the function that we use is plugin.init, and what we return, because we this is a default way to return, it's just saying that at any time we're okay to talk to you, but we have nothing special to do at init at that moment. But we send it back. So here we are, and we are almost done, and we go back here. So let's see a little bit what we did. Plugin.run. This is the moment where we start the IO loop. Okay, fine. We receive something from Lightning-D, a request. That request we pass it to multi-dispatch. Multi-dispatch find if it is a notification or if it is a request that need an answer and be treated by dispatch request. Then we pass this to dispatch request. We've seen what return this function execute exec func that look to the name in the dictionary plugin.methods, and now we are just left with the final things, which is to set the result, which means that give it correct form and send the response to Lightning-D. So we are going to look at this. We want to plugin. We are here. Now maybe just a minute. I just remember that we can do a little thing before, which is to call our method or the method that we define in our plugin, and just see in my plugin_out file what's going on. So yes, we have we have add and out, and the last thing that we have in plugin.run we receive. So it's important to take just a few seconds here. So in our terminal there we are Lightning CLI, and we say we want the answer to the node ID request. So we send that request to Lightning-D, and Lightning-D send it to us. This is what's written there, and we also can see this with that typical ID. So CLI, because this is the CLI that then the method node ID, a number, and then CLN send us the request. Here we are in the dispatch request node ID. This is treated with the node ID func that we define, and this is the result that we return and that we see in that output. But this result is not sent directly like this to Lightning-D. We send back a correct answer to the to the JSON RPC interface protocol. So here we go back to my plugin. So almost done. I hope you find already what we've done interesting, and that it is not too messy. So the last part is that to set the result. So here we see the results, that this is what we've seen just before. This is that one. Okay, so we have the two results. We get the result in that line, and here in our case we enter in that branch, and we are going to set the result, which means we are going to send it back. We write it to our output, and this is sent to the input of Lightning-D. So what we want now is to look at set result. We are going to add some of the things that we can print out to our file myplugin.out, and we're going to be done. So up, And now we have it here, and we can see this is a method from the request class. Okay, so we have it here. It's not a big one, but let's just see something here before we look at it. So what we do at some point, we call or write result, which is going to send this to lightning disk. So JSON RPC, the number, the ID, which must be correct, and the result. This is a result that is set here. Okay, so we see it here, which is the result that we passed, which have been produced by exec func. And just to see right result, we're going to look at it. It is there, and the right result is using a method from my plugin, which is a write lock. And just to see really that what we are doing, the communication is writing to our standard output, we're going to look at write locked, which is here, and we see, okay, so this is really, we have a JSON, which here we have the JSON where it is the object. So we transform it into bytes. We pass it to new line at the end, which is a S, and here we with a lock that we add when we write, we really self.stdout.buffer.write. So we write and we flush, and at that point we are done. We've sent back our answer, our response to the JSON request. Let's go back to set result, which is the last part that we want to look at. And if we go back to my plugin.out, which will be interesting, is that to add something else at the end. Here, this is the result, but let's print out, write out here the JSON RPC response that we send exactly. So to do that, here we are. So we take, this is the response, the JSON response that we're going to put here in a variable. We have the response that we still send back the response, and now we want this. So if I remember, we use 3 with that. We are in, so now we are in request set result, new line, and what do we want? We want the response. The response is that one, which is blah blah blah. Can we do maybe it's just something JSON dumps? I have some dots to how to, but maybe maybe this is a way to do that. So up with JSON dumps, and we dump that object into, okay, this should do the work. So we saved it. We go back to our terminal. We stop. We start. It seems that at least as the file myplugin.out has changed, as we can see at the bottom, that we don't have we don't make errors. So now here we are. Okay, this is the starting game. See, yes, we can see it here that we didn't have that before, which is in request set result. So here we are. Everything before is that is what we did before. So we are in plugin blah. First we get the method, the get manifest request. We go into the dispatch request, get manifest, the function which is underscore get manifest from the plugin. Here, this is the result that is calculated by plugin_dot_get manifest. We get this, and this result is put in the request here that we can see. The request need to have the JSON RPC field, an ID field, and the result here, the result field. And that result is here, which is exactly the result that we have here. So this is we can go there. The same thing happened in the init. Maybe it's we see it here. So we have that. Okay, and now let's here. I don't know what I did, but it should be node and not null, I think. But anyway, as we are at the end, we are not going to have some problem with just that. So let's just do this call, node ID. We go back to out here, and we see that we have the call, another call in plugin.run, which is the node ID method that we've defined. We have the node ID. We are in plugin dispatch request, and here this is the response that we send back to Lightning. So here we are, and we are done with that video and the demonstration of the method run of the class plugin. So here we have the call stack that we focused on today. I hope this is useful, and see you in the next video. Have a great time.